shine. Let the sun 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 shine.
What's up, my brother?
Hey, man, how are you?
What's going on?
I'm hanging in there. How are you?
I'm good. We're going to let everybody come on a little bit, and then we're going to get started and see how's life in Miami or Fort Lauderdale.
Life in Miami is good. Life is better than it was, the last few months.
Are they taking COVID serious down there?
It's spotty. It's definitely spotty. Some people are.
Okay.
Some people, there was always a contingent of people down here who didn't really think COVID existed, I think.
Okay.
I think there was a contingent of people who were at the beach, who were at the park, who were doing their thing, and just kind of life never really hit them, and it didn't really hit this place like it hit New York, like it hit California.
Right.
So, but then as numbers started to change, I think people started to take a little bit more action.
Right.
So,
I get it. Well, welcome to the show. I have Leslie coming on board, Patricia, Kenny, Coco, Nehemiah. What's up, Nehemiah? I haven't talked to you in a long time, brother. Cecil, what's happening? We have the one and only restaurateur, Mr. Derek Fleming, with us tonight. And we are talking everything what a lot of people love to do, which is dine out. And now that is kind of, almost, it's been, interrupted, to say the least, and you were on the cusp of just like getting ready to open up Red Rooster in Overton. It's Overton?
Overtown. Yep.
Overtown. And which is really bizarre because I remember your pictures from the brunch of when you were doing the opening and you had everybody in there and everything was going. And then all of a sudden, COVID happened, so it just kind of put a damper in you. So welcome everybody to the show. Hey, Lisa. Hey, Carl Touchstone. What's going on? How you guys doing? I have the one and only Derek Fleming. So let's just get right into it because everybody loves to dine out. Everybody loves a dining experience. You guys have been tried and tested. You've built a wonderful landmark. You opened a wonderful landmark up in Harlem, and now you're down in Miami working with Marcus, opening up the restaurant there. And then, like I said, COVID happened, and so that kind of derailed your opening. So from there, let's first talk about how you got into the business and the restaurant business. So give everybody a little background about you, and then how all this came to fruition in the beginning.
Yeah. Well, my entry into the restaurant business really was sort of kind of happenstance. My background is in real estate development. When I graduated from school, immediately coming out of undergrad, I went and worked for a real estate development firm and did planning, real estate planning and financial sort of modeling around real estate development projects in San Francisco in the Bay Area. So I worked on a big project there for a few years. And then after completing that project, then moved to New York and worked for the Empowerment Zone, where I was responsible for managing the Empowerment Zone Fund in Harlem and the South Bronx. So a lot of the development you saw on 125th Street in the South Bronx corridor, those were my deals that I put together. And so that was sort of my background, is doing real estate development in African-American communities like Harlem, like Overtown. And then I went to business school. My business school experience, and after business school, I went and worked in the lower 9th Ward. And this was post-Katrina. So I was working in giving them the new retail sort of like plan for the lower 9th Ward post-Katrina. So that was my background. And, it was all about retail, real estate development on the finance side and on the actual design and construction side. So then when I was coming out of business school, 2009, and I was at this real estate private equity firm. You know what happened to the real estate market in 2009? Everything crashed, and I found myself coming out of graduate school looking for a new opportunity. And I knew Marcus at that point, and Marcus came to me and said, "Hey, I know Marcus Samuelson came to me and said, hey, I know you're looking for a new opportunity, and I'm trying to figure out a next move for myself. Why don't we do something together? Why don't we partner?" And then that's when we decided to do Rooster. He had just moved to Harlem. I lived in Harlem for some years. Okay. And so that's when we decided to do Rooster. So really my background didn't lend itself to restaurants, but Marcus sort of said, no, you develop, man. You've done this. You got the background. Let's make it happen. So Red Rooster Harlem was my first restaurant that I'd ever done. So we, designed that, put up that concept together, and then, sort of the rest is history.
Okay. Well, I mean, it was such a success. Are you still involved in that restaurant or just the one in Miami?
Yep, still involved in that as well. Yep.
Okay. So how did Miami come together? Talk to us about Miami and why overtime and all of that.
So really the idea of Rooster, really the essence of it is about creating a space that is celebratory in the sense that it brings in all of the richness of the African-American culture. So if you walk into Rooster, you see the African-American art, you hear the music, culinary, the space, the design, the aesthetics. It's all about celebrating our culture. And so Harlem was the backdrop of how we conceptualized that business. So if a lot of places that, we go and we travel, we like to go out and we dine. We don't have an opportunity to celebrate in the midst of our excellence. So that's what Rooster was. And so as I had, developed other restaurants on concepts of Marcus over the years, I launched my own LLC, my own business development structure. And a colleague of mine brought me down to Miami and said, hey, I own a bunch of land here in Miami. I'd like for you to take a look at it. I came down, I met with some other developers, met with the city, and they all said, look, we love what you did in Harlem. Would you and Marcus be interested in coming down here to this historic Black community in Miami and do a similar thing? And I put the deal together, we put it all together and got to work. So it was really about, go ahead.
No. So go ahead and finish that because I'm going to go in a whole. Yeah.
So it really when I had come to Miami so many times, and I came, you come off the freeway, you go past downtown, go straight to South Beach, and you pass Overtown, and here to Jackson's once or twice to get some greens and to get some catfish, but had never really spent time in Overtown. When my friend brought me here, and I spent a weekend literally finding out about the history, finding out about the fact that every African-American entertainer that would come to Miami and couldn't stay on the beach would actually come to Overtown and spend their time. So Sammy Davis Jr., Aretha Franklin, Ella Fitzgerald, Sam Cooke, they all hung out in this neighborhood. And so I was like, wait a minute, this is the special.
Harlem. It's like the Harlem version of Miami.
They call it the Harlem of the South.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
And so when I really got into it and I really did my research, I was like, oh, this is a no-brainer. This is a no-brainer, the climate, it's beautiful, the space is here, and the richness of the culture. And so when the deal presented itself, it was like, we got to make this happen.
Okay. Are you in the space now?
I am in the space now.
It's beautiful just by looking at the pictures itself. I mean, I'm like, shoot, I'm ready to go there now. I love it.
Thank you.
So when you do a deal like this, and when you're looking at, did you buy the land? Did you buy the building for this particular? Because we always run into a situation for people who want to open up a restaurant, and usually why they go out of business based on the fact that they can't afford the rent because they don't own the business. And you know what happened with Lennox Lounge in Harlem. He didn't own the building, and so eventually he had to sell it because they kept jacking up the rent. where are you guys from a financial standpoint as far as owning the building, or are you guys leasing it out? What's the makeup of the deal?
Yeah. So when we initially went in to negotiate the deal, one of our sticking points was that we wanted to be stakeholders. You know,
Okay.
The city who owned this building, and now this building that I'm in, that I just developed, used to be a pool hall, and it was owned by this brother who, Clyde Killens, who would throw these amazing parties, and he would host Muhammad Ali, and he would host, like I said, Aretha was in this space, and just some, like, it was the creme de la creme of our community. And that was the building. So when he passed away and the neighborhood sort of went into what a lot of our neighborhoods go through when they go through urban renewal, when they put a highway in the middle of it, the neighborhood went to decline, the building went to decline, the city took over the building. So the city owns the building. And when they came to me and said, hey, we want to do a deal with you and you can have this building to rent, I was like, we don't want to rent. Like, we want to be stakeholders, and if we're actually going to be here activating and being a catalyst for this neighborhood, we need some skin in the game. So we went back and forth. We walked away from the table, came back, and we ended up purchasing the building. So we purchased the building, we purchased the land, we purchased another piece of land right adjacent to it. So that's where I was able to build this outdoor, sort of indoor-outdoor space here. Land that I bought adjacent to the existing property.
Okay. So during COVID and everything like that, because you were you just did a soft launch, right? If I'm correct? No. Early March or late February?
So in late February, we did South Beach Food and Wine. So we weren't actually open.
Okay.
We had just did an event. Marcus was honored this year at South Beach Food and Wine as like the premier chef. And so we did a party for him, and that was a brunch. Okay. And we had actually hired 110 people, bartenders, cooks, servers, hostesses, managers. We hired them. They were in the middle of training. We had this party end of February, and then March 10th, and still in the middle of training, you know what happened.
Yeah, boom. Yeah.
So we had to make a decision at that point to look into the interest of the safety of our staff, right? The interest of the safety of guests who would be coming to the space. We had no idea what this COVID-19 was, how it was impacting, what was, how the virus was spreading. So we shut it all down.
Right. Okay.
So we had to let go of 110 people.
Wow. Y'all never opened your door.
In this neighborhood who were, people, I mean, if I tell you the stories of the people that we had hired who were looking forward to this being an opportunity for them to get out of a situation, to move on, to get them to the next, so many of those stories that we had to, kind of deal with. And so that's what happened. So we closed everything down because we just weren't sure what was going to be going on. And then Marcus, who's close friends with Jose Andres, World Central Kitchen, Marcus said, hey, we should just use the space. We have this space. It's done now. And partner with Jose. Right. And so we ended up launching a community kitchen where we essentially, since March 22nd, we have been serving free meals, cooking fresh, free, yummy meals for 1,000 people a week.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah,
that's amazing. So when you the people, they never were. You hired them, but they never did. You never officially opened, correct? Okay, so now that COVID has happened, what are the regulations that you're going to have to put in place? First of all, how many seating? What's the seating capacity for the restaurant itself?
The seating capacity is 270.
Wow, that's a big restaurant there.
Yeah,
that's inside and out, right?
It's inside, it's out, and I have an upstairs, 7 upstairs lounge.
Woo, boy, y'all gonna be busy. So with 270 where you were, and everything was based on that, I know now you, since you are the businessman and you are the numbers man, looking at what you're going to have to do, what do you think you're going to do post-COVID?
Well, here's the thing, my partners, we've all talked about what does it mean to open a restaurant post-COVID. What they're telling you is 50% capacity, right? They're telling you phase one for restaurants, 50% capacity.
Okay.
So, and they're telling you 6 feet distancing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, you've been to Rooster. So what Rooster is about an experience. What Rooster is about the celebration of people coming together, gathering, coming, and sharing space. And it's not about a bartender coming up to you with a mask on and a shield on and like gloves on. It's not about that experience.
Right.
So what we have said is, I have an ice cream shop actually as a component of this development.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to open the ice cream shop. We're not, and I've got another yard adjacent to this space. So I'm going to put up some picnic tables outside and do a backyard sort of like ice cream sandwiches, rosé kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not opening the restaurant until we can actually have a real experience in here.
Wow.
Like I'm not, and if that's 6 months, 8 months, we don't have rent, right? I have the luxury of not having to pay rent.
That is what I'm saying. That is the beautiful part about where you guys are, because you started right, you finished everything right when you were getting ready to before COVID happened, and then also too, you own the space. So by owning the space, you have that flexibility that a lot of people don't have.
No, if we had rent, we wouldn't have this. We would have to do it, right?
Mm-hmm.
We would have to hop in somewhere, do delivery, do takeout, do 50%, try to get somebody up in here,
Right.
So I understand where people land with it. It's gosh, this fan is really
it's good.
Noise?
No, go ahead. I can hear it, but go ahead. You're good.
So I think part of it is wanting to have a real experience in this space.
Mm-hmm.
And it's got to be comfortable. People have to feel like unafraid to be in the space. It's just I don't it can't be half of an experience. It's got to be a full experience.
Right.
So we're just
why don't you do this for us? Can you just take your computer and just kind of show us the space?
I can show you the outdoor space.
Yeah, show us the outdoor space because it looks beautiful. Just take us through it real quick, if you don't mind.
So this here, so I'll start from the front.
Okay. Man, that's amazing. Beautiful. Oh my God. Oh, I love the art. Look at is that Karen Walker on the wall?
That's Karen Walker.
Oh my God. Are you killing me? Oh my God.
We got Karen Walker on the wall. We got Karen on the wall.
Oh.
No, we're going to have African-American art throughout the space, brother. You know how we do it. So this is the garden, right? And the garden is just an outdoor space that allows, people to come in. So you enter through here, right? You enter here.
Right.
And you come in and then you're in the garden, right?
Okay.
And so all my furniture is going to be in here. I haven't put my furniture out yet.
Yeah.
Because I'm closed. There's going to be more furniture here.
Okay.
And then this is going to be a dining situation right here.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
This is an outdoor bar.
But even that, go to that table, because that table, who is that table by? Because that table is a signature piece by itself.
So the table, Theaster Gates. You know Theaster Gates?
Yes, I know. That's why I was saying, show me that table. Hold it down just a little bit. Yes, amazing. Love it.
Yeah. So all the furniture was handmade. Everything was handmade. This is the actual entrance into the restaurant itself. The doors are. It's dark. I got to turn on the lights and everything.
Okay.
Just outside. But so this tree here, has been in this neighborhood for 80 years.
Wow.
And this was an empty lot. This was all grass and dirt.
Yes.
And we had the choice to either get rid of the tree or to embrace the tree into the development. So I basically built around this 80-year-old tree.
Wow.
Which was not easy.
I know.
And yeah, so this is more of the rest of the outdoor space. You know, there's more seating back here. There's another garden. There's big cats that are going to be back here. You know, everything's kind of covered up because I'm not using it right now.
Got it. Great tour. I love it. I love that whole like circular motion around the tree. You guys did a great job.
This area here, just around the tree, like my cushions, I don't have my cushions on it, but what's going to happen is you're going to have, when you come into the restaurant, you come into the space, you're in the main dining room, the waitress tells you, oh, you know what, you got to wait 15 more minutes. We don't have a table ready for you yet. You take a cocktail, you come outside, and you sit around the tree. You know, you sit around the tree and you chill for a bit until your table's ready. And we're gonna have live music, right? You know, right? It's you know, it's a whole setup.
Yeah, no, that's amazing, Derek. You guys did a great. Who was your architect on the design of the building?
So I worked with this group called Saladino Design, and which is a great architect firm. They really were good at helping me with space and laying out the the frame of the rooms, but. We really worked hand in hand on the finishes and making sure that it felt like an African American Caribbean experience in Miami, right? So it couldn't feel too much like Harlem, but it had to feel like us. You know, and so that was a tough balance to strike, right? All the textures and the layers. And the fabrics and the tile, we worked really hard on. Yeah.
Right. So how long did it take you guys to build the building? Yeah,
I mean the actual design took about 9-10 months, and then the development itself took a year. It's been a year and a half.
Wow. Amazing space. Amazing. So you say it seats 270. You're going to open up the restaurant part. I mean the ice cream. And what was the other part? I'm sorry, I forgot.
The ice cream shop is going to open up, and then we have a backyard that's going to seat people outside.
So more like a cocktails type, tapas type situation.
Yeah.
Okay. Very Miami. Yeah.
Very Miami, and then when things normalize, when people feel, you know, it may not be until there's an actual vaccine. Like I don't know when that is, but I need you to feel comfortable enough, you know, that you can come to the space and celebrate and have a good time. I mean, when once you can go to a concert again, once you can go to a theater, Broadway theater show again, once you can do all of those experiences again, I think that's when we come back, because, you know, it can't live on one leg. It can't live on one leg.
You want people to feel the authentic experience of what you designed it for.
Absolutely. Yeah. I've been at restaurants since COVID. Some of my favorite restaurants, you know, here in Miami and in New York, and it's like, you know, I'm sitting here, and then like 10 feet away is another table, and it's, you know, and then it's like, it's just kind of like Twilight Zone. Right. Like, it's fun. It's down. Right. And Rooster's not down. Rooster is like, you know what I mean?
No, it's all the time you hit the door. Even before you get to the door, you hear the music. And you're like, okay. Even if you're just going for a drink or a cocktail or experience, you're going to do that. So are you guys going to have the same element like you have, you know, like in Harlem, you have Jenny's downtown with the jazz bar. So what is upstairs like? What is the upstairs?
Upstairs will be the equivalent of a Jenny's. Instead of, you know, in Miami, you can't build down. You got to go up because of the water table. So it will be a lounge, but this used to be a pool hall. So the way that I've designed it, it's really going to be a reflection of what that pool hall used to be. Kind of a speakeasy space for late night kind of like lounging. But it'll also be a community space, for groups that want to use, people in the neighborhood who want to just have a space to meet, congregate, and that just need a free space. We'll have that available for them too.
Okay, sounds good. Well, we know Marcus is all about, he's a good PR genius, and he's all about getting publicity, and being that he was a celebrity chef and all those kind of things. He knows how to generate that. I can imagine for you, as the one who's crunching the numbers and building out the space, you love working with somebody like him, because you're like the yin and yang of making it happen. Do you see, or have you seen, since you started building in Overtown, other restaurants coming up and coming around, and people being interested in knowing that you're building out a neighborhood? Because you guys really created the restaurant scene in Harlem on Lenox, and then everybody just started opening up, and it just became a spot. Because for most people that lived in Harlem, they always had to go somewhere else if they wanted to dine. But now you can stay in the neighborhood and really, you don't have to leave. So, do you see that? Was that starting to happen before COVID?
Yeah, I mean, it's this neighborhood is. It's an interesting neighborhood because it sits right, it's like a donut, and it sits, Wynwood is to the north, Brickell is to the south, American Airlines Arena is to the east, and then I-95 to the west. So we sit right in the middle of all of this activity, but it's an African American neighborhood that people just neglected and dismissed. And so, my hope is that, it's funny. Every time someone walks in or walks past this space, they go, you didn't spare any expense, and you kind of went there on this one. You kind of, and so we did. We invested heavily, and that was because we felt the neighborhood deserved it. The history of this neighborhood deserves the best. And the same thing we did in Harlem, where sometimes people are like, "You're gonna do this in Harlem and put all this stuff up, and you're spending too much money." And it's like, no, Harlem deserves this. What are you talking about?
Right.
Harlem deserves it. My goal, my dream is that there's 20 Black-owned restaurants that pop up just alongside me, so that this neighborhood starts to feel like it used to in 1950s, thriving, Black Wall Street. Like, that's what it needs to feel like,
Well, I think, coming out of what we're coming out right now with all the protests and Black Lives Matter, police brutality, and I think Black people are really starting to really understand the power of their dollar, and owning what they need to own is theirs. I think you guys have really created a playbook for them, and you created a playbook in Harlem for other people to follow. And you created because you guys are not even just in Harlem, you're in London, and then you're also in JFK and some other places too, right? Yeah. Where are you guys located?
Yeah, so in London, in New York, in Newark, here in Miami, but really, for the biggest thing for me, Charlie, in this whole sort of attention to race and attention to and all these corporations writing these letters of "we see you Black folks" kind of stuff is, how do we leverage that? How does our community take advantage of what people should have been recognizing for decades anyway, right? And so, you see Magic Johnson's, $100 million fund. You see Michael Jordan, $100 million. I want to do in African American communities. All these funds that are coming together. Like, what are we going to do? Is Charlie going to be the broker that puts these deals together? Who's going to be is Derek going to be the developer who puts the retail together? Who's going to be the medical institution that comes in? Who's going to be the cosmetology base that comes in? We need to recognize this opportunity, this moment, and leverage this moment. If you say you want to support, you say you about us, you say you value our culture, we have to then stand up and say, okay, cool. Here's the business plan. Where's the check?
Right. Exactly. No, I'm with you 100%. It's true. I mean, we've been doing it, and me and you've been talking about this.
Otherwise, it's another goddamn march.
Right. Because all you're gonna do is just create this again in the next 10 years, 5 years, 6 years, whatever is gonna come again. So make it happen. But also too, when you do develop those funds, make sure you bring people like me and you into the group boardroom to administer those funds and get those funds out.
Right. Exactly.
You know,
if not you, who?
Hey, bro, you preaching my language, and you know that. You know that's what I'm all about.
You've done deals up and down Manhattan, in Brooklyn, all over New York City, putting major, sold out major developments.
Yes.
You need to be at the table if the developers, okay, you know what? We're trying to can figure out Louisville. We're trying to figure out Memphis. We're trying to figure out South Side of Chicago. We need a broker who could help us to understand how we're going to get to the community. How do we structure these deals so we can actually have home ownership rather than people renting in these, like, what is that about? And so we need someone like Charlie Lewis in to help us put in structure and figure out how to get to the community.
There you go. No, you preaching my language. Let's talk about how to make a restaurant successful, because I know you're good about that. I mean, we were working on some other things too on the side, but what really makes a restaurant successful? What happens to most restaurants? What don't they think about when they get ready to open up a business? Why do they fail?
Well, I think, building a restaurant is layered. Building a restaurant it's a three-legged stool. You've got to obviously have a great product, right? A great good food, good drink, right? You've got to have that. You've got to have a good underlying business structure. Like, what is your rent? What is your cost of doing business? Before one customer comes in, do you have it under control in terms of, managing your utilities, managing your bottom line every day? Like, do you have that under control? But the third component, the third leg in that stool is, what is the experience? And so many people open restaurants and they're like, well, I got good food. What's the problem? Well, I'm paying my rent. What's the problem? If I walk into your space and there's no sense of presence, there's no difference between me being here and being at a diner down the road, like what's the value proposition for me coming to this space versus the other 11,000 restaurants in Manhattan? Why you? Why am I? So, part of this, the model has to be about, maybe it is a quiet, small, little neighborhood spot. And that's what your brand is about. That is what you offer. You offer your neighborhood there in Brooklyn or there in Harlem, a place where people can go and they know that, it's local. Everyone knows each other. They say hi. They come twice a week. The prices are just right. And that's what they look for. On Saturday, they want to see and be seen. They want more visible, they want louder, they want music, they don't want intimate. And so that's what that place is about. Know what you're offering. Know what your brand is, and then do that well.
Okay.
If it's not about service and it's just about, a lot of our restaurants in our communities, it's not about service. It's about the yummiest, saltiest, creamiest. That's what it's about. Yeah. Right. So if it's like, oh, child, here, eat that. Oh, you don't like that? Wait, I'll be right back. I said I'll be right back. And it's not about the service. It's about, oh my God, but these yams. God. You know what I'm saying? Exactly. Know what you're about and then do that.
Right. Speaking of that, because let's just be real. When we came up, it was just soul food restaurants in the Black community. Okay. Now we are of a certain age now where we know our palate is just as diverse as, anyone's. What do you think? Do you see more African-American chefs or owners trying to venture out beyond just your traditional soul food?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting now because, you've got David Chang doing fried chicken. You've got Tom Colicchio doing fried chicken. You've got everybody who wants to stick their hand into the fried chicken space. which is, I guess, and for years people looked down on fried chicken, right? It was like, oh, we do this, we don't do that.
Right.
So now our food, our culinary is in vogue, just like our art is in vogue. And so I think that, what's happened with our generation is, it's like looking at someone like you. It's like, oh, this year he's in South Africa. Oh, shoot, next month he's in Amsterdam. Oh, and then the month after that, he's in Asia, and so we have these experiences where we're traveling the world and we're exposed to different things.
Right.
And so, and that's the same thing that's happening with some of these young chefs that are coming up. They're venturing out, they're traveling, they're getting influenced, and they're coming back. I mean, the chef that I have here, he's like, yeah, I'm going to do the greens, but the greens are going to have a little bit of this too.
Right.
And so he's incorporating his experience, his life experiences of seeing other places around the world, but he's also addressing you and our community and saying they want to do something a little different too. They've had Auntie's collards. I'm going to give Auntie's collards with a little bit of something else, right? And so that's the beauty of who we are, as a culture. It's like we're dynamic, we're growing, we're evolving. And I think we're taking people along with us. One of the things that we have to do in our communities is watch out for what we're feeding each other.
Right.
Right. You look at COVID and all these underlying conditions and diabetes and so and so and so and so. It's like, well, how do we as business owners become responsible for what we're feeding each other?
Right. But it's also too a cultural thing for us. Our diet was based off of comfort. All the stresses of what we go through every day. So it was, and then also too, you needed that particular diet back in the day when you worked in the fields.
Right.
And because you needed that substance. You needed those yams in order to work those fields. And
actually the yams and the collards and the string beans are all very healthy. I mean, that's good food, right?
Yeah,
that's
good.
That's
right.
Good food, but I'm just saying some of the other things that we give ourselves, we have to be careful. We have to be cognizant of it.
Okay. So everybody who just joined us also too, I know we're almost into the middle of the show, a little bit after the show. We got Gary Fleming, who is the restaurateur of Red Rooster in Overton down in Miami. And we're going through what it's like to open up a restaurant that, right at the beginning of COVID. And then also too, we're going through the whole Black Lives Matter, what you want to call it, the whole Black Lives Matter episode.
Social unrest. I call it social
unrest of what's happening in our community, which should have happened a long time ago. Walk me through the scenario for people out there planning on opening up a restaurant. Just, what does it take to get a restaurant open? Because I know that is something and then you, like you said, you use people in the community. Was that a struggle to also use people in the community?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, okay. I think, opening a restaurant is, it's not an easy thing. It's not an easy thing. It really, restaurants are not a high margin business. There's a lot of costs and a lot of expenses, and you're always price sensitive, right? So food is always an issue. Cost of food, cost of beverages, and the cost of labor, always very, very volatile. So, for someone to find a space that makes sense for them economically, that is located in an area that is desirable and that's going to have great visibility, but then also come up with a concept that makes sense. It's got to be competitive in the marketplace. You can't have set up another taco shop next to 20 other taco shops, next to 10 other Thai restaurants, and you have to. There's so many intangibles about the space being absolutely spotless, absolutely clean, absolutely 1,000%, ready to go health-wise. You have to have great management. You got to have someone who is operationally committed to that space being run really well.
Okay.
And you've got to be overly funded, to be quite honest, And so if you look at what's happening during COVID, restaurants now, there's 500,000 restaurants in the US. You've got 11 million people who make up the staff in those restaurants. They're all closed.
Wow.
And they say that only 30% of those restaurants are going to be able to come back in the same way that they were.
Mm-hmm.
And that's because most of those restaurants only had a month or two in reserve.
Right. And that's what I was going to ask you, because you said that, and thank you for answering that question, because people are always talking about margins, and people might see, oh my God, they're always packed, they're always doing business. But like you stated, they only have a 1 month or 2 months in reserve. So that's why it was very important for the restaurant owners to get the PPP loan in order to pay their employees, so they can therefore open up again, hopefully after the 2 months, if they went, south.
But listen to what you just said. PPP covered their employees. PPP didn't cover rent. PPP didn't cover electric. PPP didn't cover insurance. PPP didn't cover water. PPP didn't there's a million and one things that have to happen in a restaurant for it to be operationally sound. And PPP didn't cover that stuff.
Wow. Okay.
And so you basically have these businesses, and these businesses, man, they make up the heart, they make up the soul of communities.
Yeah.
It's the guy who just got out of college, he's trying to figure it out. It's the artist who's trying to have a flexible schedule so they can act and get their stuff going. It's the person who's in between, who doesn't quite have it figured out yet. And that's their spot. It's someone who just got out of the correctional system and is looking to get themselves in a better space. The restaurant provides for all of these people.
Right.
No other place. Like no other places. If you go to Target, they're going to ask you what you did before too. But in the restaurants, they're just going to, can you cook? Can you clean? Cool. Come on in here. Let's do it. And so, we have to understand that, restaurants hold a special place in our communities. And it's where we celebrate. It's where you have meetings. It's where you go on a date. It's where it's all of those things. And when you cut all of that out of your community, you leave a big vacuum. There's there's like a void.
Right. I call it also too, restaurants today for our era is like the church, because a lot of people don't go to church anymore, but they do go to brunch. They will sit up in brunch for 3 hours, and they would do Sunday Fun Day and all of that kind of stuff.
Right.
Do you remember Dale? Yes. I loved it, and that's what it was. That was the beginning of all that New York, brunching, and everything like that. And so all those things. Do you know Jason Norris? Jay Norris?
Of course. Yeah.
Okay, so Jay, I love Jay's concept, and it's something that when I think of what you guys do and what his business model is, which is, he's basically our pop share when it comes down to building community within community. So, curating businesses to make sure they work for a community. And I think what commercial brokers didn't do well, and I always used to say that, and this is the reason why I really focus on residential per se and not so much on the commercial side, was because commercial brokers were all about the dollar. It was just give me the deal, give me the deal, give me the deal. They never thought about building a sense of community. And what you see now with COVID is that you need that model. And if you don't have that model, then you're going to fail. And so now they have to really rethink all of this brick and mortar that they have out here in order to fill the space. Because as you stated, people are looking for experiences. You can call it destinations, but everybody wants the hand and touch and feel that energy. And you guys did that well. Even when you work that space within Red Rooster 3 or 4 times over to figure out what to do with it. You know, that little nook has done many things. It was a DJ booth. It sold pastries. It sold tacos. I mean, you know, it did everything that you can think about. And so that's what's amazing about when you really do think about the whole space. So the experience itself is all about trying until you can get it right and then making it stick. So I think, you know, what you guys are doing, which is what I love about, you know, Marcus and you guys have just tried everything. You know, like, let's see what will that work? Will this stick? And will that happen? And will that make it work?
It's a ballet, man. I mean, you know, people say it, you know, it's a ballet, and you know, you've seen, you know, you go see Alvin Ailey and you've seen Revelations, and that feels good every time you go see it. But every once in a while, you want to do something different. And so when you have a restaurant, Rooster is 10 years old. You know, it's 2000 years old. And so how do you stay fresh? How do you stay relevant? Still be iconic and classic and connected. But how do you get folks to say, like, well, you know, this is different. This is cool. Like, this is a little bit different. I'm coming here. It's still, the core of it is the same, but that looks different. And this experience is a little bit there, you know? And so that's what you have to give now, man. Like, if you stay like this the whole way, I mean, that's not a solid model. That's not a solid model. You got to be dynamic.
And I always think that is what, after a while, you're like, you know what? Okay, the food is good, but you know, the experience has changed, or they left, you know, because you go to, like, look, Blue Ribbon, when I was in New York, that used to be my kitchen. And I used to go in there all the time. My man was in the window shucking oysters. My boy Mike used to be the bartender and had the playlist. And we used to be in there at 4 o'clock in the morning. But then when he left, the whole experience changed. The food was good, but the whole experience changed. And then they expanded, and then it kind of lost this thing, you know. Still good food, but at the same point in time, things change. How are the people in the community looking at the restaurant? Do they look at you as a gentrifier, or are they looking at you as a part and saying, welcome, you know?
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, it's been interesting, you know, because this space had a lot of history, and it had a lot of connection to it, right? It used to be this neighborhood staple that was owned by a neighborhood guy who hosted Black celebrities. Like, that's what this was. And so then the city had it. And so then you have these two business people, Marcus and Derek, coming from New York. They're not from here. You're going to sell the building to these outsiders who aren't from here. Why wouldn't you sell it to a local? And so there were some things that happened around that, you know, that we had to sort of, you know, really, me personally, I had to go out and say, look, this is what I'm trying to create. This is what I'm going to invest. This is what it will be. And if someone else wants to do it, well, then you go ahead and do. Oh, you don't want to. Okay, well then, let me go ahead and do it. Let me give it a swing at it. Let me get a swing at it. And so, you know, I have to actually walk the walk rather than talking the talk. You know, so really for me to come in here and build this place, and when people walk in, they're like, wow, Carol Walker, and they're going to see all the Black art and all the celebration of the culture here. They will realize that the commitment that we had to this development was true and authentic and honest. You know, when I hired 110 people, and, you know, 80% of them were from this neighborhood, they were like, oh, you know what? We get it.
Right.
You know, and so, but this is only the beginning. It's a relationship with this community. It's a relationship where they have to continue to feel trust.
Right.
You know?
Are you doing events in the neighborhood, or since COVID happened? I know you can't. Let me take that back. I know you're not doing events because COVID happened.
No, but Charlie, I'm giving away. I raised money through a nonprofit to give away 1,000 meals a week.
Yeah, so that was my. I was going back to that because I was just like, wait a minute, you are doing the community work. You are doing God's work. So I mean, it's all good. Yes, I love that.
And we're gonna. I mean, the other thing is, I just today, I wish I could show you. but I just had a container delivered to the back lot, and the container is a 40-foot hydroponics farm. And inside of the farm, inside of the container is vegetables, herbs, all sorts of things, greens that will that will provide provisions for the restaurant, right? Wow. And so people are going to be eating fresh here out of this restaurant. When the kids from this neighborhood come and they want to learn about what we're doing here, they go into the farm, they go into the container to see what happens with organic, non-pesticide, non-treated food, right? And so, it's a walk. You got to continue to walk the walk, and that's what it's about.
I love it. I like it. Closing up. One question. Leslie said, "Do you have any Purvis Young in the restaurant?"
Yes, we will. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right.
The artwork is not up right now. The artwork is not up in the space because
Walker. Like, that's not enough. But who else you got in there?
No. The camera is up because that was a piece that we did pre-COVID. But once COVID hit, we weren't sure what was going to happen. And then even in the last couple of weeks, when the riots have been happening and stuff, we took all the artwork out because we just didn't know what was going to happen.
Right. Okay. Last question. What's the biggest lesson you learned, in life about yourself going through this challenge, opening up restaurants, the culinary business itself? What is the biggest thing for you that you can take away that you learned about yourself going through this in this business, being an entrepreneur?
Yeah, I mean, it really, again, I kind of stumbled into this culinary, this restaurant space, hospitality space. And so what I've realized about my journey, as a developer, right? That's sort of where it all kind of starts for me as a developer, real estate developer. My passion is about impacting our community in a positive way. And so we all have our angles, we all have our toolkit and what, how to have impact. And, there's been a lot of challenges, a lot of doubting, a lot of, trying to figure out how to get people to believe in you and how to get people to invest in you and how to, make a brand for yourself such that people won't have as much concerns about investing in you in the future. And so, it's all about being true to your passion. I feel like, I've always been committed to bettering my community in a physical way, a real 3-dimensional brick and mortar physical way, representing the community in the best way that I know how. It's been difficult. Okay. Some things that I could have done that would have been less difficult, but it's incredibly rewarding, and I'm glad that I've done it.
All right. Can you hear me? Because it seemed like I froze up.
You did freeze up. Yeah.
Okay. So I froze up, but anyway, I'm here. We're gonna leave on that note. And thank you for everything that you've done. I don't know, we lost out, but can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. But anyway, I thank you for your time, Derek. This was insightful. I hope everybody learned a lot about what's going on. We'll have you back as you start to open up. We get a little bit further along down the road. Love, thank you for giving us the tour. Everything looks beautiful, and I wish you much success, my brother.
Thank you very much, brother. Keep on doing what you're doing, brother. I love you.
All right, I appreciate you. Love you much.
Thank you.
I can't even get out because I'm froze. Whoa. See y'all later.